One of the obvious reasons women shouldn't be pastors
Oh boy.
is that a woman can't be the husband of one wife, as said in the pastoral qualifications found in 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1.
Of all the arguments to use, this is by far the weakest and the stupidest because it appeals to a literal interpretation of scripture. And as I have always said, there's no such thing as a biblical literalist, but there is such thing as a biblical literalist when it is convenient for the reader. And that's true here. We hear husband of one wife, and we want to use that, but we want to ignore the fact that if we really do take that literally, then unmarried men and widows would also be disqualified from being pastors. This would mean you would have to be married to be a pastor. Ridiculous, right? But let's go a little deeper. Married men without children would not qualify. Men whose children are not believers would not qualify. Paul himself, who was not married and commanded singleness, would not qualify. So why in the hell are we even listening to him?
I mean, just think about it.
Now, why would I do that? You clearly are not.
If God wanted for women to pastor, then why isn't there a single Bible verse that affirms it?
So first thing, you're demanding a verse that the Bible doesn't give for most church offices. For example, you are correct in saying there is no verse that specifically says women can be pastors. But if we're going to use your argument, there also isn't a verse that says only men can be pastors. Also, fun story, since we're talking about the word pastor, the only place it's really translated that way is in Ephesians. It's not translated that way in Titus or Timothy. So those verses really aren't even up for debate here, since we're talking literally. But what the New Testament does show is women performing functions of pastoral roles that we have today. Some examples would be Acts 18:26, Priscilla teaching Apollos. Romans 16:1 and 2, Phoebe is a deacon, which, by the way, the qualifications for a deacon, the husband of one wife. Weird. Romans 16:7 comes real close to calling Junia an apostle. And depending on the reading, she's either esteemed among them or is one. 1 Corinthians 1:15, women prayed and prophesied. Acts 21:9, Philip's 4 daughters were prophets. 2 women struggled beside Paul in the work of the gospel. That's Philippians 4:2 and 3. And in Acts 2:17, the Spirit was poured out on both sons and daughters. These are all things that occur in the modern church to pastors, male and female. So the real question is, does the Bible produce the modern job title of pastor and who it's for? A deeper, better question is, does the New Testament depict women doing the work of what we now understand as work under the job title? And that answer is emphatically yes. The absence of a modern sentence in an ancient book cannot erase women in ministry. Like many other things in the Bible for fundamentalists, it's saying it very clearly. You don't want to hear it.
And when you look at the biblical guidelines for bishops, also known as pastors or elders,
these are 3 distinct titles. They have a lot of overlap, but they are distinct.
All of the pronouns are masculine. The bishop is assumed to be male. And when you see the examples of pastors in the New Testament, every single one is a man. So if you're in favor of women pastors, then how do you explain this?
There is no man in the New Testament specifically named pastor. We assume they are pastoral because of the actions in the verses. Timothy, Titus, James, Peter, we assume they are pastoral because we read about them and them doing pastoral things. In the same way, Junia and Priscilla, we know that they did pastoral things because it is written down that they did pastoral things. So in the same way that you're saying that women can't be pastors, you're using the argument to call men pastors in the same way that women are pastors in Scripture. It's called circular arguing, and you're terrible at it.